Welcome back to another episode of our Wyckoff crypto discussion. As usual, today we will explore the crypto market through the lens of the Wyckoff method. This information is for educational purpose only, is not an investment recommendation. Please stop the video and read the disclaimer. We have just launched our Discord channel. Here's a new link to join our group. You will find our market updates on cryptos, Bitcoin, crypto indexes, low cap altcoins. We are very excited about this project, so please keep sending your charts, your observations. Also, we would like to know what kind of educational content in the future you want to see in our group. And we're thinking about PNF materials and so on. So, Roman, what do you think about this new journey into the crypto market?
Well, I'm excited and at the same time a little bit overwhelmed because there is so much interest in this, and specifically interest in Wyckoff methodology. I see a lot of comments on the Discord that basically state that, Wyckoff is really appropriate, for analyzing crypto currencies, and people like the whole chart reading, the way of how we read the chart through the lens of the price structure, through the lens of the price volume relationship, and so on and so forth. So it's just pure reading of the chart. And I'm really grateful to everybody who joined us. There is such a live discussion that is unfolding. So we are going to transition in March into the new format where we're going to have the free Discord and where we're going to have the paid Discord. So make sure that you check out the original free Discord before we go into the paid subscription. And to me, Alessio, I look at this as maybe like three major things that people will be able to do on this Discord. And that is to chat with each other and with us. Secondly, to receive some kind of market updates from us on the daily basis. And then also receive some education as to how do we actually analyze this market and how do we trade it. So, for instance, Alessio is posting a lot of answers regarding different educational questions, and then I'm posting, all of my trades and cryptos, and we're gonna show them as they unfold.
I'm very excited, and so looking forward for the Discord channel. Now, let's analyze the market. The majority of crypto indexes are in a trading range. I do not see distributional signs yet. All these trading range are tight. We have a small change of character. The reaction that occurred on Sunday was initially concerning, but look at the Dragon Index. This is the Chinese crypto index. The reaction this index was very pronounced since Asian market in last week was on holiday, and for this reason liquidity was very poor. But since that moment, almost all the indexes have recovered, and now they are at the level of resistance. So until a real change of behavior happens, we stay with the uptrend. What are your thoughts, Roman, on that?
Well, yeah, exactly the same. I mean, the whole sentiment that this is the distributional top is something that you really guys have to look into how you analyze the market and how you perceive the price action on the chart. The reason why I say this is because for us to see something of the distributional nature, we need to see not just emergence of the supply, but also the expansion of the result to the downside. And even though reactions might seem like, oh, isn't it a downside result? Yes, it is. But what kind? Did we overcome the whole rally? Did we go and commit it below, let's say, 1/2 of this rally? What kind of spread did we have around the support? And so on and so forth. So there are quite a lot of things that we could discuss in terms of the result. So we do not, even though supply has emerged, we do not see any downward result that would tell us that we're in some kind of distribution. So just a temporary pause, and the key here is just to continue following the market. Don't predict, follow the market. Alessia?
Great. So now let's analyze the intraday view of the most popular indexes. So basically the exchange token index is leading. I think it's a bit overextended right now, but also look at the beautiful rotation that we are seeing between all these indexes. So basically the DeFi index is lagging, the exchange token is leading, but look at the altcoin and shitcoin index. I think they are very interesting, in a very interesting position right now. So the altcoin index is having likely a major sign of strength, but it must be confirmed. So I would like to see like a small backup here. But I think that this trading range are very constructive for now. Roman, what are your remarks?
Yeah, Alessia, would I be correct assuming that the activity in the exchange token, which is related to the exchanges themselves, is showing us the interest of more participation by people, and that's why they're leading right now. Would I be correct in that?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay. So with that, when you have this type of idea, right? So you want to go to this type of assets and figure out the places where you start, position yourself for any type of trades. Plus, also please note, and we were discussing this before the session, somewhat illiquid market just because of the fewer tokens that are in this index. So that allows the price to move in the character that it moves. So without a lot of big reactions and kind of like up, 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 up. So very interesting asset. I also agree with Alessia on altcoin. So this is probably the most interesting chart right now for me, at least out of all of them. But having said this, all of these consolidations, and this is 4 hour, right? So they're going to resolve themselves. And so far, again, we do not see any distributional signs. This and this is just emergence of the supply. And if you would be analyzing this, there is less supply or less downward pressure to push the price down, and look at how the price reacts. In both cases, we have the tails, which are demand tails, meaning that somebody's actually buying at that point. And then the second one is at the higher low and closes at the higher level than the first one. So still bullish activity with short-term weakness.
Oh, I really love this market analog, Roman. So this is just a scenario for Bitcoin. So basically it is a analog within Bitcoin, the S&P. And look at these two very similar structure. So basically we have a rally on the news, and in Bitcoin case, this was the day of Elon Musk participation in the crypto space, while the S&P was the positive news about the vaccine. And look what happens next. So basically we have this kind of sign of strength structure, and an uptrend develops after that. And I've personally seen that many traders in the group are discussing about this small trading range that we see on Bitcoin. Is this a accumulation? Is this a distribution? But I think there's a third scenario, and this scenario is all about a possible uptrend that take place while the rest of the market is leading. So basically, Bitcoin is lagging, still lagging behind many altcoins, and meanwhile, we see this kind of shallow uptrend. And look also the resolution of this uptrend. In the case of the S&P, we see a small reaction, and now we are consolidating. This is a potential vertical absorption pattern, so we have to see how this formation will develop. But I think it's a very interesting scenario. What are your remarks on that, Roman?
Well, yeah, guys, check out our other videos from WMD that we post on Twitter or on our YouTube channel. I made a video today on the market update. Actually, let's post this on the Discord group as well. So I talk about the analogs, and I go back even into 2009, 2015 analog, structural analog. So it has kind of the same similarities. And today, in the anatomy of the trade video with Franz, we were discussing, momentum phase. That's number one. This is where they are buying, and that actively produces this kind of aggressive rally. Then we have the vertical absorption, second phase, where profit taking takes place. But that profit taking always is met with buying. So, and we kind of see the same things. Like look even at like these bars right here. They are somewhat similar in the way how they look. So I would say, Alessio, if we would be comparing of where we are, like right here, we're probably like somewhere here maybe, or somewhere here. So we should be expecting some kind of reaction. Usually the resolution of this vertical absorption type of action is going to be a sharper reaction, which is going to be on par with the initial reaction that we had, kind of the same magnitude, and supply will increase. So I wonder if that would happen. And then resolution is just, again, push up, and then consolidation, and then continuation. And I would say that this is a much more mature behavior for the Bitcoin after such a rise off the low of COVID low, and then after, like 10, 12,000 type of low. By the way, all of the talks about, well, Bitcoin should go to 12,000, to 7,000. Probably not this year. And even though it moves so fast, I don't think that it still accomplished the long-term objectives for us, which are still way above, let's say, 50, 60, into the 80, and even into 100,000. So stay on course of the long-term trend and try to define, the way how the market behaves and how it travels to those goals, to those objectives. Now, one last thought on this, and Alessio, I agree with you, this is such a great analog, is that this was an interesting spot because supply has come in at the level of the resistance. So naturally, we would be thinking a pushback into the trading range, into some kind of higher low. But then as the price started to show inability to do so, you instantly think in strength rather than weakness. And that strength has its own character. And we've seen how S&P had this strength in the kind of like with this very muted move up to the upside. But this should have been, and as I was looking at the market, I was actually thinking even buying the Bitcoin. The best buying opportunities in this type of the scenario where reaction did not materialize is to buy closer to the support. So somewhere here. Do not buy on the breakouts, and this will lead to kind of like a little bit of a pain intermediately as the reactions develop. So,
Yes,
Alessio,
what I really like about this analog Roman is the fact that basically we are watching the rotation. So since the altcoin market is still leading, Bitcoin can still go up with the rest of the market, but it's going up in a different manner, in a more orderly uptrend compared to these crazy up moves in the altcoin market. And then when a rotation happens, for example, a big correction in the altcoin market, and sooner or later it will happen, maybe not in this month, in next month, we have to see. But when that rotation, that correction will happen, that would be a nice moment to see like this reaction on the top of the trading range for Bitcoin. That would be a very, very interesting moment.
All right, let's move on. So let's look at the Ethereum. Very exciting picture here, Alessio. So what do you see?
There's a lot of vertical absorptions where basically a trading range of the top of another trading range. It's typical formation, which is very difficult to trade at first sight, but once you recognize the structure, it really pays. So I really like Ethereum at this specific spot. It looks like we are on the making up action of a major formation. So.
Yeah, I opened a position yesterday, Alessio. So I wondered somewhere here, and I wonder, how that's going to work out. It seems like it's traveling up right now. So My only concern was the slowing of the momentum right here, but I like the compactness of the structure, meaning that there is not a lot of volatility, and we don't see a lot of volume signature here after we saw, some distributional signs right here, which were again temporary, that led to a reaccumulation, and still through that structure we had some supply coming in. So obviously there is just emergence of the supply here, and that's why we're spending time here. But look at the structure overall. It's a wedging upward structure, and then we go into a sign of strength, which has some demand behind it, and then after that, whatever supply comes in, it's only occasional and much lower than what we've seen in the previous structure. So very bullish activity. I would be expecting a continuation, and not only that, Alessio, what do you think about the acceleration here? Something akin to what we've had here, but maybe even better.
Yes, absolutely. This is the way these big caps move in the altcoin market. Basically, we have a quick up move followed by months and months of consolidation, and this is a typical pattern.
Okay.
Low cap, I really love this asset. So we see here a major sign of strength, first a minor sign of strength, then LPS, major sign of strength, and now look, supply is very exhausted. And this asset has a lot of comparative strength against the rest of the market. So I really love this very cheap low cap.
Well, I love it, but I hate it. You know why I'm hating this? Because it's on Binance. And I do not have an account in Binance. So I only have one on Kraken. So, and guys, it's kind of like an internal joke that Alessia and I have, because I've just started trading crypto. So I've been analyzing them with Alessia for quite some time, salivating at all of the moves. And then finally, when I open an account, apparently audio is on another exchange. So go
Yeah,
figure.
we have another candidate on Kraken. So
Okay, but I really like this one. Why do I like
and
this one specifically? So we've talked in the previous videos about the absorption of the supply at the resistance level, right? So for instance, look at how supply comes into this high, right? So we're seeing that supply is increasing relative to, let's say, this area right here. And by the way, you could start with this, right? So you're seeing how supply increases and then decreases. So this still suggests some kind of trading range, just because supply is quite intense. But let's follow the path of this trading range. Supply comes in, doesn't produce, a move to the upside. So that just tells us more about even the demand. The demand was not that strong. But look here, now demand is much stronger because it pushes the price better to the upside and it's closer to the resistance. Then the next bar touches actually the previous high, which was the highest in this trading range. And with that, look at the supply signature. It starts to diminish relative to the previous attempt to get out. So you know that after the next reaction, most likely we're going to overcome this high. That's number one. Secondly, as we go through this high, what happens next? Well, these are much better bars because they are penetrating the resistance. That's number one. And even though supply comes on the supply tails, and we see this in the volume signature, it holds. It holds. So if it holds, then that is suggestion that absorption vertically is happening right now, and we're going to have continuation. We do have continuation. Demand is decreasing, suggesting that we're going to have some kind of reaction. And then after the reaction, what do we see? On the reaction, supply is so low relative to everything what we've seen before. So this is a great place. And that's why I'm saying, why am I not on Binance, Alessio?
I know.
All right.
So this is on Kraken instead. So synthetics, very nice structure. So accumulation structure, sign of strength, breaking up action. And then we are in this very interesting channel on the logarithmic scale. So there are crazy up moves between the crazy swings. And I think this structure is very fascinating. I'm looking at this like a hawk, because basically we see that right now there's a lot of interest, and accumulation on the way up. And I think that now we are very close to the oversold. We are basically on the oversold trend line. This could be a nice spot. I would just love to see an up bar here, like a good demand bar before entering to the upside for a quick swing, which could be a double. So interesting information. What do you think about this chart, man?
Yeah, so I agree just in principle that this is interesting in the way how it unfolds. I'm also noticing, some of the diminished kind of like momentum characteristics, but this is common to how the uptrends would develop, right? So we would see first wave of buying as the momentum buying, vertical absorption, and then usually we're going to have the speculation. So I would be thinking like 60 would be my target here.
We have higher targets, so I think
okay.
it's interesting.
And verticality is going to change, once it goes into more speculative phase. So yeah, absolutely interesting spot. And, in terms of the short-term weakness, it falls into the structural demand line. So yeah, I would be very interested. And this one is on Kraken, so I'll definitely pay attention to that.
Yes. So I know that a lot of crypto traders really love illiquid assets. This is not my preference, but crypto.com, we have covered this asset just yesterday before these two beautiful up bars. And I think it's a very nice structure because this asset was leading the market, the crypto market, to the upside and to the downside in the last bull run. So look also the distribution here. It's very subtle. It really reminds us of a Chinese market. And Roman, by the way, you are providing new material for Chinese users. So talk about this project.
Yeah, for those of you who are in China, and we had a lot of requests, for Wyckoff knowledge, from Chinese students. So we've just finished making a special course for you guys based on the Chinese market because it's so different. There is no short selling. Even the chart looks different, where you have like the red and the green colors signify, the opposite force that we have here in the U.S. And then obviously the hypodermic nature of the tops is very familiar to the Chinese traders. So go to our Chinese website, wyckoffanalyticschina.com, and check that out. But in terms of this chart, what I really like is the illiquidity creates specific visualization of the move. So where we have, kind of like a staircase type of movement where the stop losses will be moved so easily with the expansion of the price progression. And then your distributional pattern is going to be very, very clear. You are going to have some small attempts to revert, from the price advancement, and then something significant will happen, a change of behavior, and then some significant reaction to the incoming supply, and then a change of behavior bar like this. So these type of charts and markets are much easier to identify in terms of where the move stops and where the move, let's say, starts. And
yes, I really love the fact. Sorry, Roman.
And you made a great call here just recently.
I really love this chart because the distributional pattern that we have seen in September had really low volume because this market is so illiquid that all the distribution happens on the way up, and then people just run away from the asset.
And that's very similar to the Chinese market because institutions can't short. So what they're doing, they're selling on the way up into the strength of the crowd. So very, very similar to that. But talk about your call. So this was the original call right here.
Yes, we have published this just yesterday. So it's possible to apply all the Wyckoff principles even to this very illiquid asset. So basically what we see here, we see a selling climax with diminished spread. And this kind of selling climax generally announces that we will see or shakeouts or accumulation on the way up in the right side of the chart. And in this case, we have both conditions. So basically, the secondary test is a shakeout. But what's the result on this increased effort? It's bullish. Then price is kind of languishing on the support because there is no interest for this asset. And look what happens next. Some demand came in a very aggressive way. Then we have a test, so a reaction on diminished spread compared to the shakeout. And what happens next? Buyers have to accept higher prices to participate in this market. And we have showed this call in our Discord group, so please join, it's still free. And we are traveling right now. And I think that the character of this cryptocurrency is such that we will continue to see, likely to continue to see absorption on the way up, because this is the only way for market participants to absorb the supply here and participate in this market.
Most likely, this is not on Kraken.
No.
that's kind of like the joke of this episode. Okay, so one observation that I'm going to give, and again, I think this was such an incredibly good call, Alessio, so kudos to you. I really like the observation about the shakeouts after the diminished selling character, right? So we might go into the whole discussion as to like how this happens and how this happens and why and what kind of deductions we would make. But I want to concentrate on the emergence of the demand, because whenever supply diminishes and selling is exhausted, it's the emergence of the demand that's going to give you the timing that institutions are coming back into this asset. And that's the key in recognition that, you know, something might happen. Now, the timing of it should be really, really defined correctly, because as demand emerges, there is still some selling, and we could see that in this selling supply tails, and we also see this in the volume signature itself. So you need to wait for the rally that's going to come after the reaction that is going to show diminished supply character, and where on the rally you are going to have a much less substantial supply coming in. And you could see this from the supply tails that are now so much smaller, and the demand signature is more stable, and it's rising on the way up, and it's not decreasing on the way up. So that would suggest that buying is coming and selling is not that pronounced. That's number one. But also, secondly, that there is a continuous buying. So meaning that they bought, then they buy more, then they buy more. So that suggests the progression of institutions to pay higher prices and be willing to accept higher prices. So kind of like a small nuance here, but very important.
And the last asset for today is Sharedlink. So I think that the overall structure is very constructive. But Sharedlink is currently lagging the market. And what are your remarks on this structure in the last 2 weeks, Roman?
Well, first of all, I do have a position in this asset, and I wasn't shaken out. Thank God, you know, to the I have a stop loss somewhere here. So overall structure obviously is very beautiful and very kind of conventionally Wyckoffian. This bar obviously disconfirms a lot of the supply that came on the change of behavior itself and on the original push off the top. But then let's look at the uptrend. So we're seeing the volume signature increase significantly here in this area. So what does this signify? And we have a couple of reactions here. This means that somebody is selling into the strength of this market. So there is a mean reversion trade where traders are saying, okay, once the price comes to the resistance level, we're going to sell because we know that the price is going to revert back to the support. Now, as they do so here, they're not getting a lot of profits because there is somebody who is actually buying. So there is a hidden demand on all of those reactions. So that's great. We want to see that vertical absorption as the price leaves the trading range. But then what's interesting is that once they bought in this area, look here, there is really not a lot of buying that is going on compared to the previous period. It's almost like they bought it in and now they just hold in this position. So with that, we could have that type of slow momentum, low spread relative to what we've seen before, and low volume signature, and still the price could go up. So the key here to me, Alessia, is just overcoming, intermediate highs like this, on the bars that are committing significantly to the upside. And then obviously some potential, and I would be thinking like, wow, this is a great, great course with a big potential.
Yes, there's a potential at least to $100,000 here. So I think that in long term could be played very well.
All right. Okay, well, that's it for today, Alessia. Really good episode. I liked all of the charts that you created for us. Once again, guys, we are waiting for you to join us at the Discord group. Within the month's time, we're going to launch a lot of educational material in there. So, in preparation for that, just visit, sign up. And Alessio, could you explain to me one more time? So, how does this invitation works? Because we had an invitation like a couple of weeks ago that was a different invitation. So every month we are updating that.
Yes, we are creating several links. So if some user had experiencing some issues with the old link, this is a new link, new QR code, so you can definitely use this.
All right, sounds great. Well, thank you so much, Alessio, and thank you so much, everybody, for watching crypto market episodes.